with you, just playing a little music. Hope you're doing well, having a good day, wherever and however you may be listening or watching the show, and whatever you may be engaged in doing. Who knows, right? I don't know. It's okay. Glad you have it on, or you may be watching on some handheld device or your computer. Do they still have those towers, Gary? Do they still make towers? You need to put your phone on, your mic on.
Yes, they do.
Gosh, I haven't had a tower compute. Yeah. I don't know how many years.
Desktops.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're big with the gamers.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're huge.
Well, I was looking for this story where would you say Ebola and Philadelphia in the same sentence? Now, I know I didn't hallucinate that, but Gary was making fun of me one day, and I said, I'm going to talk about Ebola. There's a concern in the Congo about Ebola. He looked at me like, what's the matter with this guy? Congo's pretty far away from here.
It's a bit of a mile.
But we live in a very interconnected, interdependent world. What's happening in the Congo could very well affect what's going on in Chicago. I'm going to see if I can find that story. We live here, and there's people that live in these places. Ebola, I mean, it is a deadly, just deadly virus. And the things we just take for granted, right? It's all random. We were born here, and those people born in those environments and have to be raised there have to deal with that stuff. I mean, can you imagine? You have to get up every day and have to worry about being infected with Ebola? Oh. See if you can. I know I didn't hallucinate that, Gary.
Yeah, I've seen the story. It's broke maybe about an hour or two-ish ago, but
okay. Tell us.
There's a patient being tested for Ebola-like symptoms. They haven't released any information about whether or not they've traveled.
Was he traveling?
They haven't released that info as far as if they traveled to locations that may or may not have outbreaks possible going on. So right now, it's literally just patient showed signs, so they've isolated them and they're doing the testing to make sure. And that's a very little information aside from.
Yeah, I knew it was fresh because I saw it when I was going through for stories and getting content for the show, and I saw it. I was going to go back to it, and then I got distracted with something else. Now I can't find it. Thanks for reporting on that, Stephen.
Sure. Yeah, you just Google Ebola and then Pennsylvania, and you'll get a bunch of hits.
Mm-hmm.
Not scare everybody in Pennsylvania. Just there's somebody that they thought might have it, so they're just doing the testing.
He probably was traveling, got sick, and may have some classic symptoms.
Send it to you.
Thank you. He may, boy, I'll tell you, I have such a great appreciation for these pathogenic microorganisms. They're quite remarkable in how they work. I mean, they really are. I know that sounds odd to say, but you have to think about it in context. These pathogenic microorganisms, these viruses, these different species of bacteria have been on the planet since the beginning, darn near the beginning, long before we showed up. And they've had millions of years to figure out how to survive. And I know I'm attributing a lot of human qualities to these things. They're not. But they are organisms, living organisms. And nature being what it is. So, yeah, Philadelphia and Ebola in the same sentence. Patient being tested for Ebola at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania. Penn Medicine confirmed to early this morning that as Stephen said, a patient was tested for Ebola at the University City Hospital. They're not finished with the statements. A Penn Medicine statement said, quote, a patient who met screening criteria, just as I said, for Ebola testing is currently being evaluated while tests to assess the patient's condition are completed. Believe you me, if he has Ebola, that'll be prime time news. We'll see where that goes. There's a couple of stories trending about e-cigarettes. One is quite tragic. Before I go there, I just want to give you a heads up how to connect with the show. You may...
where everything is archived. We have over 60,000 views now on that channel. It's archived by date and closed caption for the hearing impaired.
Okay, so there's a brand of e-cigarette. It's a Juul, Juul. I've reported on this brand before. Apparently, e-cigarettes have reached epidemic levels in terms of people being addicted, especially among the young people in our country. And now there are some major health groups urging the government to step in. An anti-tobacco organization has launched a free text messaging service to help teens quit this very harmful, potentially dangerous habit. Dangerous not only because of disease, but dangerous, apparently, because you can die. A man, I'm not making this up, a man died after his e-cigarette exploded in his face. Now, this is odd. The Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office in Texas said that William Brown died in a Fort Worth hospital on the 29th of January, weeks shy of his 25th birthday, young man. The death certificate said he died from cerebral infarction and herniation after debris from the exploding vape pen that he was smoking dissected his left carotid artery. Oh, my God. Are you serious? The odds of that happening. Come back, I'll tell you more. Boy, I wonder what brand it was. I wonder if it was Juul. Boy, somebody going to get sued. 877-897-8255. My goodness. Oh, is there other stories trending? Charlotte
Trass, yeah.
She'll be up in the second hour. Got a lot going on. I'll get it to you. and just so strange. You would think that smoking a vape, using a vape pen, smoking with a vape pen, what harm other than, getting addicted to them and maybe who knows what else? What danger could there be? Well, apparently there is danger. A fellow by the name of William Brown, 24 years old, died after his vape pen exploded. This story is crazy. Apparently, the vape pen, when it exploded, some of the debris from the pen got into his throat. The story, as it's being reported, he went to a vape shop, and apparently, I think he wanted some help with his pen, and I don't think they were able to help him. I don't know exactly. He didn't buy anything in the vape shop. They didn't sell the brand of vape pen that he wanted. So he left, goes out into the parking lot, and this terrible thing happens. The young man was rushed to the hospital, was put into a medically induced coma, and the x-rays revealed that the e-cigarette was lodged in his throat. A three-piece thing went into his grandmother said that that three-piece thing, the vape pen she's referring to, went into his throat and stayed there, his grandmother said. And what she said was, hint, is where they're headed, I don't understand why the doctors didn't operate right away. Uh-oh. A spokesperson for JPS Health Network said she could not comment on the specifics of Brown's case. Now, it turns out e-cigarettes and vape pens are battery-operated devices that heat this liquid and to create an aerosol that the people inhale. It's like regular cigarette smoke. The liquid contains nicotine and has flavorings. I reported on this. If you want to know more, go to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They have more information. The CDC reports that one in every 10 adults has tried an e-cigarette. Really? Wow. There are 195 separate e-cigarette fire and explosion incidents in the United States that have been reported by the media between 2009 and 2016. This is according to the U.S. Fire Administration. Did you know there was such an agency?
Never. No.
The U.S. Fire Administration? That's the first time I ever saw that. Last May in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is a stone's throw from here at this station where I'm at, was a man there, living there, was killed when his e-cigarette exploded and shot a piece of the device. Where do you think it went? Into his head. Gary, these are dangerous, brother.
You know, a couple years ago,
is it the battery? Is it the battery that's exploding?
What happens is the battery charges like a coil inside that makes heat. Okay, and that mixes with the oil, and the oil makes the vape.
Makes the vapor.
Okay, and then that is usually in some type of plastic or glass device.
Well, what's causing them to explode? Is it the battery that's exploding?
More likely the battery. They're lithium-ion batteries. They're rechargeable, constantly.
What causes batteries to explode? Do you know, Stephen?
Battery leakage will cause the battery to explode.
That heat overstressing it. A lot of people that are, quote, vapors, they will modify their kits, as they call it. So you can actually, you can take apart what you can buy in the store and add parts to it in order to make it blow more clouds, give you more of a.
Oh, jeez.
And so they're modifying them, modding them in a sense. And most of the time, when there's when a story like this, when there's an explosion or blow someone's pocket or something like that, it tends to be someone that's modded their vape. Not necessarily even though the ones that have just come store bought, that's happened to them too. And as Gary pointed out, it's a battery issue with. Remember the cell phones a couple years ago that were exploding?
Yeah,
same kind of thing. It's that battery that just gets overheated. It's too much, and then pop.
See, my producers know all kinds of stuff. That's why they're here. He ripped that right off the top of his head. I didn't know any of that. So they modify the product. Well, that gets the manufacturer off the hook. If the young man had Mr. Brown modified that vape pen in some way.
And that's if he did. Again, there's been instances of when just normal ones that haven't been messed with or modified have done the same thing, but a lot of the stories where this happens turns out to be that there was modifications done to it after purchase.
Mm-hmm. The strangeness of life and how accidents happen and things happen to people. I report on these because this is not stuff that happens to other people. This is stuff that happens to anybody. And the oddity of it all. Well, I'm so sorry for him. It's a shame. 24. He was just a few days or so shy of his 25th birthday. That's terrible. We'll see if we can find. By the way, here in Florida, they just recalled a bunch of chicken in public supermarkets. They're big around here. I'll tell you about that and a few other things that are fish oil is big this morning.
Don't be stressed out or anxious. Take Hempanol.
what's up with the chickens. Welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. Great to be with you. Hope you're having a good day. Honest to God, every other day I'm reporting on these chickens. This is wearing me out.
Have you been to Jacksonville?
Yes.
Have you ever noticed all the chickens that walk around downtown Jacksonville?
No.
If you're not familiar, Jacksonville's northern of
I
where
never
we
noticed
broadcast
that.
from. Yeah. And downtown area, they have a whole bunch of chickens running around. It's almost like Key West. Key West has all of those chickens.
Yeah,
running
Key West.
around.
I quite frank, I've been to Jacksonville, but I haven't spent a lot of time in the downtown area.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, they got chickens. Well, turns out there's now a third poultry producer recalling chicken that may contain rubber or wood. Oh, Pilgrim's Pride. Well, not so proud today. Where they're recalling 58,000 pounds of popcorn-style chicken sold in public supermarkets after a consumer apparently found some rubber product in the chicken. Publix is a chain of grocery stores here in the Tampa Bay area. I guess they're throughout Florida and others. They're in other states now too, North Carolina. Great company, by the way. The Pilgrim's Pride is a Texas company. They're the third major, according to Benjamin Chapman.
An 897 talk.
You see, I mean, most people are walking around. They go into a store, grocery store, buy food, and what's the assumption? It's safe. Well, as you get the drift from this show that, well, yes and no. Yes and no. You see how often I report on food, and I started doing that to give people, to educate the audience that this is a real issue. You got to watch what you're doing when you're shopping. I remember my mom shopping. Gary, she would be so particular about what she bought. She would examine the product. She would, and I always thought, what is she doing? That's why I guess she was careful. She was very careful. And the poor thing, you know what? She would, how many times I've been with her when she would catch, even with the registers that are supposed to do all the adding and subtracting, and the cashier would shortchange her, and she'd catch him every time. It was embarrassing because she would make a scene, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, God bless her. She watched her pennies, man.
My thing is why are all the recalls in the back of the store?
Where the meat is?
Well, no, that's where they have them posted at.
Oh, yes, I know. Well, yeah. Don't want people to see, I guess. I don't know. 877-897-8255. Fish oil. Let's talk a little bit about it. I haven't talked about it in a good while. If you're taking dietary supplements, the odds are probably pretty good that your protocol includes fish oil, and for good reason. Thousands of studies have been done on the fatty acids, omega-3 fatty acids that we find in fish oil. And fish oil supplements have become very, very popular. And the fatty acids are essential. And that word essential means that it's essential that you get them in the diet. It's a way to remember what the word essential. Essential means the body doesn't make them. And so you have that's how you get these fatty acids. And these fats, these are the healthy fats, are critical for the bilipid layer around the cell constituted of fat and other elements, but it's the ball game. So, and we'll get into that a little bit maybe. The value of the fish oil market is expected to surpass $4 billion by 2022. That gives you an idea of how big an industry cottage industry, that is, it helps with inflammation, it helps with cholesterol, it helps with depression, it helps with asthma, heart disease, ADHD. I can go down, I could spend the next 10 minutes giving you this long list of health benefits that are documented. I'm a big fan. However, the important conjunctive adverb. However, the mistake that a lot of people make when they purchase fish oil is they tend to they want to buy these off-brand fish oil supplement products. That's a mistake. Why? Turns out that the oils are very susceptible to oxidation. Heat and sunlight, for example, will cause those molecules in the fish oil molecules to the omega-3s to oxidize. And then people consume that. Man, no. Come back, I'll tell you more, and I'll tell you more about these benefits. Okay, let's talk about it. I'm a fan. I think it's a useful and meritorious dietary supplement. It has been in the space of natural products now for a long time, and the technology has really become very sophisticated. The way they manufacture the product, and it's a much higher quality, pharmaceutical grade. You have companies like Nordic Naturals, used to be a sponsor. Even have companies such as Natural Factors that make an excellent fish oil product. Jarrow Formulas. These companies, they sell quality fish oil products. I caution the listener and the viewer, beware when you start buying offline cheap fish oil supplement products, you put yourself at risk. To make these products is not cheap. I know this. A high grade, pharmaceutical grade, high quality fish oil product is not cheap to make. And, when you see a fish oil product that's half the price and even more of other products, you have to be careful. And moreover, too, when you open the bottle and if it smells funky, no, it shouldn't smell bad. Just like bad, tainted fish, spoiled fish smells bad, so do tainted fish oil dietary supplement products. And then when you take them, you get all that kickback on them, right? Comes back up on you. Bottom line with the reason why fish oil products are so important because they have these omega-3 long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids in them. And if you go on Cochrane, PubMed, any of these databases, you will see thousands of studies on these omega-3s, which is especially the types that are found in seafood, fish and shellfish, and fish oil supplements.
Does that help your skin?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've been riding the bike more and more. My face is just a dry mess right now.
Well, you should moisturize it, and you should moisturize it from the outside in and from the inside out.
Okay. Yeah.
So the fish oil does it. The fish oil does it from the inside out. And you'll notice an improvement in your complexion when you take fish oils.
I mean, because you got great skin for being 75 years old. You have great skin.
Everybody says that. People ask me what do I do. I say listen to the show. The fish oil. Thanks. The fish oil is very good for the skin.
Okay.
It's wonderful. You will see a difference. I've had 1 million people say, what do you do for your face? I stay out of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I use like some of the Reviva Lab products, moisturizing products. I know. I do those things. Some people may think, geez, the guy does that. Yes.
Well, I shave after I shave. I'm starting using the Silver Biotics now when I shave.
Helps. That'll help.
That'll help. And then I've noticed I don't get the water too hot. I figured that one out.
That'll dry out.
Oh.
You should get some of the Reviva. We should talk to them and get some of their moisturizing products. That moisturizing collection is very, very good.
Okay.
But I'm off track. High doses of omega-3s can reduce triglyceride levels. You don't want to run high triglycerides. That's a risk factor for heart disease. Omega-3 supplements have been known to relieve symptoms of even rheumatoid arthritis. Omega-3 supplements have been convincingly shown to slow the progression of eye disease, eye-related macular degeneration. For most other conditions, there's so much research. I could go on and on. I am not a big fan of eating fish 3 times a week. Why? Because it's contaminated. And anybody tells you that it's not, they're not telling you the truth. And I refuse to eat farm-raised fish. I am not going to do that. I know how those fish are raised, and no. And I don't want to get into the weeds on why. I'm just telling you, go do a little research on farm-raised fish. You will not eat it either. When you go to a restaurant, you should ask them, is this fresh caught or is it farm-raised? You'd be better off not to eat it. That's just my opinion. 877-897-8255, 877-897-TALK. One cautionary note, if you're taking a blood thinner, Coumadin or whatever, you should probably avoid taking fish oil because fish oil will thin the blood. And you should always talk to your doctor when you're taking medications. There's some conflicting evidence about omega-3s and being associated with prostate cancer. I've looked at those studies, and I'm not so convinced that that's the case. So, buy a high-grade quality fish oil supplement. Make sure that, you can't go wrong with Nordic Naturals, Natural Factors, Jarrow Formulas, all these big companies. Fish oil, Nordic Naturals, they're not even a sponsor anymore, and I'm promoting them here. That's what they do for a living.
Rufino asks, can you explain triglyceride blend versus other forms of oil?
Okay, all right. So you have these different renditions of. When we come back, we're headed into it. I need more time to do that. You got phospholipid type, and you have different types of it's chemistry, and it's sort of nuanced here. And there's a lot of back and forth on this, and people are all in a twist about what form is that omega-3 fatty acid in, and this and that. Come back, I'll try to get that at the top of the hour. You are listening to Let's Talk Nutrition. The federal government, they're fans, apparently. The National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. If you go to their website, they talk a lot about fish oil there. So even the U.S. government thinks it's a good idea. And in my opinion, if you want to eat fish, eat the smaller fish that people don't like, sardines and anchovies. We'll be back at the top of the hour. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition, the 2019 winter edition of LTN. Thanks for stopping by today, wherever and however you may be listening or watching the show, and whatever you may be doing. I was talking about fish oil in that last block of the first hour, and I had a question from a viewer and a listener in Georgia. Question was?
The question was from Rufino, and
he wanted to know the difference between
the
triglyceride and ethyl ester. Let me put a button on this, and then we'll get to Charlotte Trass, whom I always enjoy speaking with, and you will too. There are different forms of different fish oil forms. There's a natural triglyceride form. There's an ethyl ester form. And then there's yet a re-esterified triglyceride form. Oh, my. Now, there's a lot of back and forth as to which is more bioavailable and better. You know, it's a chemistry issue. Natural triglyceride fish oil, fish naturally contain the omega-3 fatty long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids, EPA, and DHA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and docosahexaenoic acid, easy for me to say, as triglyceride esters. That's what's in the fish. Natural triglyceride esters, fish oils, provide a maximum of 300 milligrams of combined EPA, DHA per 1,000 milligrams of oil. These are the most common fish oils that are sold in the natural products industry and in mass market. Some prefer them because they are what? Quote unquote, in natural form. This is the form that are in the fish. Then there's the ethyl ester. This is chemistry. EPA and DHA concentration and ratio can be altered in natural triglyceride fish oil. The ethyl ester fish oil form was created, well, I don't know why they created it. What they do is they remove the glycerol backbone of the triglyceride molecule, the triglyceride fish oil molecule, in a process called transesterification. And what you end up with is a free, what's called an FFA, free fatty acid, and a free glycerol molecule. So an ethanol molecule is attached to each of these FFAs, creating this ethyl ester. Now that's the chemistry in a very simple way. The resulting ethyl ester allows for molecular distillation at lower temperature, creating an EPA and DHA concentrations that are greater, at a higher level, found in fish. This form is a fish oil concentrate. Now, if you're a fish oil company, what are you thinking? Well, if we can get more out of less, that's good. We make more money. It's more concentrated. All right? And then they have the re-esterified triglyceride, created when the ethyl esters are freed from their attached ethanol groups and then bound, once again bound to the glycerol backbone. They retain the same potency and fatty acid ratios of their ethyl ester counterpart. And why people would get into the weeds on that, all that stuff, I have no clue. There have been some reviews of the literature, and if you go to sciencebasedhealth.com, I won't get into it now, they did a review, and they compared the triglyceride form with the ethyl ester, and at the end of the day, they didn't find any major statistically significant differences between the two. They just didn't. In other words, one form wasn't better than another. There wasn't any advantage, any absorption issues or advantage. They didn't conclude that. Now, there have been other reviews. There are people that swear that one's better than the other, and you can If you want to get into the weeds on all that stuff, go ahead. What you need to know. Then there's a phospholipid form. I didn't even mention that. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know what advice to give. I wonder if my guest has a view on this. Charlotte, welcome to the show. I'm going to throw you right into the deep part of the pool without introducing you. Do you have
the ocean with the fishes, right?
Yes. What was in The Godfather? Who was it that sleeps with the fishes?
With the fishes, yeah. Sleeps with the fishes, right?
He sleeps with the fishes.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion about this?
I do. Of course I do. I do. I have to say I'm a natural girl, and I'm a big fan of natural triglyceride oils. The reason I'm a fan of them is because I believe it's as close to nature as you can get. Another reason is because I'm not hugely fond of things that are overly processed, and the high heat process of some fish oils I'm not particularly fond of. They can go up to about 446 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the same as a French frying oil. So I just don't believe in treating oils that way. That's just something that I personally have an opinion on.
Did they do the ethyl ester to get a deeper concentration? Is that what they did to get?
Well, yeah, they do the ethyl ester because basically they're taking away, from the glycerol backbone. The fatty acids are removed from the natural glycerol backbone and then reinserted at higher levels. So basically, you're going to have these really high levels of DHA and EPA, and it sounds great, right? I mean, it's like more is better, more is more. But I don't know. I can't find a fish in nature that naturally has those levels, and so me personally, I prefer something that's just a little closer to nature and what nature had intended.
New Chapter has a fish oil product.
We do, and I will say I'm biased towards it because we have a natural triglyceride oil. It's whole mega. It's a wild Alaskan salmon oil that's sustainably caught, and it's not high heat processed, and so I'm a big believer in that.
In case you movie buffs and aficionados, in Godfather 1, the reference he sleeps with the fishes was for Luca. His first name was Luca, last name was Luca Brasi. And Big Luca ended up sleeping with the fishes in the movie. I've watched that movie a gazillion times, all three parts.
Spoiler alert.
Luca Brasi. There's a wonderful scene in the movie where he gets taken out, and he was a big dude, right? And he had these shoes, and they had him walking through this building on the marble floors, and his shoes, he was a big guy, and he was heavy shoes, and his shoes squeaked. The nuance of all of that. You have to watch the scene. He was going to make a deal, and had him walking alone in this big hall, and you could hear his footsteps, and the shoes were squeaking. That's the kind of detail. It's more than you needed to know. But anyway, Luca ended up with the fishes. Too much omega-3 story there. How are you doing? Well, Happy New Year. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, what are you up to?
Oh, causing trouble.
Has it been 30 below up there?
No, you know what? We had the polar vortex come through. It was very, very cold for a few days. And then the last 2 days, it's been like 50 degrees here in Vermont. So everyone's a little, you're either joyous because you like the warm weather or you're sad because you're a ski buff. So one of the two.
How cold did it get? Did it go below zero?
Oh, yes, for multiple days.
What, 20 below, 15, what?
No, that was more in Minnesota.
Yeah, Chicago.
Yeah, we got to like -5, -7 in some areas, and then up north, further north in northern Vermont, I heard it got colder than that.
Yeah, my daughter, where she lives in Chicago, was 30 below. Not even factoring in wind chill. We'll be back. Charlotte Trask, educator for A New Chapter, is the guest today on Let's Talk Nutrition. Charlotte, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Do you vape?
Do I what?
Do you vape?
I have to say I do not vape. If vape is the way that the kids are doing it these days with the fake cigarettes,
yes.
I guess that's called vaping.
Yes.
No, I have no interest in vaping.
All right. I just wondered. I report on a tragic story. This young man, 24 years old, had these vape the products the thing that you use to vape with blew up and killed him. Blew up in his face, and the debris from the what do you call that, Gary? What is that thing? The vape.
The vape pen.
The vape pen, when it exploded, went into his throat.
Oh gosh.
And he died. I reported on that earlier, and I just wondered if you vaped, and if you did, I was going to tell you to be very, very careful.
No. I mean, I understand that there's different things that people do to relax, but one of the things that I read a long time ago that I thought was really interesting was that one of the reasons that smoking and vaping causes a calming reaction is not because of whatever you're inhaling. It's because you're actually forcing your body to take deep breaths. And when you actually think about that, how often do we stop to take deep breaths?
Yeah.
And could you actually, take a 5-minute deep breath break and get just as much relaxation from that? So just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that could be one reason. That's an interesting hypothesis. It's an addiction. That's that's how they're calm, because they were so animated and hyperventilated and anxious because they needed a fix. And nicotine is deadly addictive. Anyway, you didn't come to talk about vaping. You didn't come to talk about Luca Brasi. You came to talk about what?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like you were on a fish oil roll, and so maybe we should. I was going to talk to you about digestion, but maybe we should keep on that, because there's a lot of stuff in the news right now that I think is really interesting about fish and fish oil, and we.
Well, why don't you share your take? I'm going to listen. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, recently, as recently as January 21st, there was a new article published on the decline of Antarctic krill, and how scary that is for us as both a planet and for the food species that rely on krill. Whales, penguins, fish, seals, they all rely on krill. And the funny thing is that a lot of people love krill because the science is amazing. I mean, I won't dispute that. The science, the bioavailability, the astaxanthin content, all of these things are really exciting about krill. But unfortunately, the decline is extreme now. And so I just kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit, because I think it's interesting, because we often, look at products and, they're beautiful and they're on the shelf, and, we don't really think about where they come from. And sustainability is really something that I think people should be aware of when choosing a fish oil.
Mm-hmm. To your point about the decline in krill threatening Antarctic wildlife, from whales to penguins, they said that climate change and industrial scale fishing is having an impact on the krill population that is potentially disastrous. It was the language in some articles used, potentially disastrous on larger predators. I mean, the krill is at the bottom of the food chain for the whale. I don't know how many tons of krill a whale will eat, but I mean, the krill are fundamental to survival of the other wildlife in the Antarctic.
Well, I was reading that, I think this was the U.S. National Oceanic Administration, but they were saying that krill populations have dropped an estimated 80% since the 1970s. 80% since the 1970s. And you have to ask yourself, like, sometimes it helps if we look at things in terms of ourselves, right? If the human population declined by 80% since the 1970s, we would be in the biggest tragedy of all time. Of course we would, right? I mean, imagine that kind of devastation. But because the krill is this tiny crustacean, people are kind of, like, oh, it's like a fish, it's not that big of a deal. But when you think about how ecosystems work and you think about how things build upon each other, I mean, it's a real tragedy that this is happening. And of course, commercial krill fishing is definitely a part of that.
There's a report. One of the authors of the report, co-authors, was George Waters, no pun intended, lead scientist for the U.S. government delegation to the Antarctic decision-making body Convention for the Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources, CCAMLR. My God, they need to come up with a shorter title. Warned that the penguin population, for example, could drop almost by a third by the end of the century due to changes in the krill biomass. The report is published in PLOS 1, that's Public Library of Science 1, a highly, highly prestigious journal. I have the article in front of me, the report. It's worth a read. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We're very environmentally conscious on this show. We'll talk about New Chapter's a fish oil product. It's kind of unique. They have their own way of doing it, a little bit different than other companies. Charlotte will describe and explain what they do, and you want to be all ears and see what New Chapter has to offer. It's a very competitive space, the fish oil market, the fish oil space. These companies go after one another, boy. But New Chapter has a unique product, and Charlotte will tell you. You're going to listen to Charlotte and watch her on Let's Talk Nutrition, coast to coast and globally. Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition, the 2019 winter edition of LTN, featuring today Charlotte Trask from New Chapter, educator for New Chapter. We've been talking about fish oil, and New Chapter has an interesting entry into that space. Charlotte's going to describe and explain why the New Chapter product is rather unique. Charlotte, welcome back. I'll leave it to you now to share with the audience what it is about the whole omega that you find unique and meritorious.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm a huge fan of Omega. I think the first part is because it's sustainable, and we were just talking about how important sustainability is.
Explain what you mean by that.
Sure. So sustainable is when it's not harming the environment, okay? And what's happening right now is there's a lot of overfishing going on. When you look at a lot of fish stocks, you're looking at mostly like anchovy and sardine stocks, right? And when 70%, almost 70% of anchovies are sourced from Peru, and they're having trouble finding viable fish there because they keep doubling down, you know, and you have to understand, like, I feel for them because, you know, Peru's economy depends on fishing, but when the fish are not viable, people don't stop fishing. They just keep fishing. And that's really destroying the anchovy industry down in, you know, South America. And we wanted to source truly sustainable fish, and we said to ourselves, where can we do that? And one of the reasons that we love Omega is because it's sourced from wild Alaskan salmon. And Alaska has a really great conservation and management program in place. So actually, sustainability is written into the Alaskan Constitution, and it guarantees that no Alaskan salmon stocks have ever been classified as overfished or approaching overfishing, which is really, really exciting. So we really wanted to pay attention, and we really wanted to do something, but we also said, hey, we want the science to back us up, right? We want to know that we're providing a really good fish oil because, you know, is salmon oil a great fish oil? And absolutely it is. The cool part about it is we do this extra virgin pressing. We don't do a high heat process. So these delicate omegas that are normally destroyed in a high heat process are actually kept intact. So you get 17 different kinds of omegas. Most people are only familiar with like omegas 3, 6s, and 9s, right? But there's actually, you know, more omegas that are naturally occurring within fish. And those 17 omegas that we deliver, we're very excited to be able to do that.
877-897-8255, 877-897-TALK. If you're watching the show, you will see, catch it, and you'll see a double frame, Charlotte. Charlotte's on the right, and I'm on the left. In case you didn't know. By the way, Charlotte, you can call, and we can stream you into the show. I don't know if you know that or not.
That's exciting. I did not know that.
Now you do know that, and it would take Gary 2 minutes to do that, and he can tell you how to do it, and you can be live, and then people can see you coast to coast and globally up on the screen. And
well, awesome.
Yeah. So during the break, you can talk to Gary, and he'll explain you how to do that.
Okay,
so the product is sustainable, and it's salmon, not farm raised.
No, you know, I'm not a huge fan of farmed raised salmon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'll explain why. First of all, it's unsustainable. You know, farmed raised salmon require several pounds of wild fish to produce just 1 pound of farmed fish, and that doesn't seem like a very good method, right? 2 is it's actually lower in nutrients. You know, it has a quarter of the amount of vitamin D of wild salmon, so if you're looking for nutrition, you want, you know, a really healthy, hearty fish, right? And I want you to just imagine, I mean, you're in the radio booth right now. Imagine if you just had to seal the building off and live in that building for the next 30 days. You know, what would happen? And that's what we do with farm salmon. We close them off in these pens, and they're exposed to, you know, contaminants and synthetic coloring because they're denied their natural food source that gives them that radiant reddish pink glow. That's the astaxanthin that does that. And when they're denied their natural food source, you know, you get white salmon, and white salmon won't sell. So what do? They put in synthetic coloring, and that's really scary because you're looking at this fish and you're thinking, oh, this is the naturally colored fish, but it's not. And then don't even get me started on when fish start to get sick and they're fed antibiotics because they're suffering from things like sea lice, which is just as gross as it sounds.
Right.
And
They're swimming around in their own fecal matter.
Oh, they're swimming around in worse than that. So I mean, it's worse than that, and it's actually, you know, the farm salmon was the first animal to be approved for GMO and for human consumption. So they've genetically modified salmon, and they've crossed it with an eel, because when you think about the eel being long and hardy, and you think about the salmon, you know, longer, hardier salmon fillets, and it's really frightening. So I always encourage people to go wild whenever possible.
87. That Charlotte explained to you why earlier when I said you couldn't eat, you couldn't at gunpoint, I wouldn't eat farm raised fish. That's the reason why. 877-897-8255, and I didn't even know she was going to do that. 877-897-TALK. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I just freaked out now that eels and salmon are the same. They crossbred them. That's kind of freaky.
Yeah. You know what?
Well, it's like one of those science movies, right? Where you're talking about like should we do this? You know, should we cross a human with a fly? Should we cross a salmon with an eel? And I just don't see any good can come from this. I really don't.
No,
because they're not going to, even if it is a farm type environment, they're still going to get out into the wild.
No,
you'll have birds that'll come there, and
they have the fish closed off in these pens. Like tanks or whatever. I don't know how they do it. And that's where they live. It's a small confined space, and they get sick. They're given antibiotics. They have to color them, dye them. They're fed fish meal. It's disgusting. I'll pass. A whole mega product is these are go ahead and describe the fish.
Sure, it's wild Alaskan salmon, and so what we're really proud of is that, again, it's sustainably sourced in Alaska. Do you know that Alaska actually does not have any farmed fin fisheries, so that's really exciting. And then also you get higher nutrient levels in wild salmon as opposed to farmed. You get higher values of selenium, vitamin D, B12. And, you know, it's naturally colored by antioxidant superstar astaxanthin, and it's not genetically modified. So we go with wild salmon all the way, and we feel it really makes a difference in our fish oil.
Humans left to their own devices can put people on the moon, and they can put people underground. 877-8... Boy, I'll tell you. 877-897-8255. Charlotte Trask with New Chapter. See? This is why we love having guests such as Charlotte on, and Charlotte in particular. We're here to learn. And, you know, you don't have the time to go do the research. You don't have the time to get the articles. We try to make that easier for you. Let's talk nutrition. Tune it in. Watch it. Tell your friends. We'll be back. We'll have the $25 gift card health question for the day. today. Here's the question. New Chapter's wholly sustainable Whole-Mega is made from A, mackerel, B, haddock, C, salmon, D, catfish. New Chapter's Whole-Mega fish oil product is made from sustainable what? Mackerel, haddock, salmon, or catfish? You know it's not catfish. I just threw that in as a distractor. So you can throw that one out. Throw that fish back in. Here's the number to call.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK.
So what do they use to make the Whole-Mega? Why do you use the word whole in the title Whole-Mega?
Because we get as close to delivering whole fish as possible. We get as close to delivering whole fish oil. And that's really important to keep the different constituents of fish oil together. And we feel that makes it a different product.
Mm-hmm. It does make it a different product. What is the recommended dosage on the bottle for the New Chapter Whole-Mega?
Yeah, so gosh, you caught me off guard there. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's 2 or 3 a day.
What is that, about 2 grams or so?
Yeah, right around there. 2 gram daily of Whole-Mega. The cool thing is that we actually did a clinical on our Whole-Mega, and during the clinical, it was shown to reduce triglycerides by 8.5% in 2 weeks. So that was pretty exciting for us to see those results.
Yeah, I had mentioned that earlier. I listed that as one of the health benefits. It will lower triglyceride levels, and that's a good thing for cardiovascular health. You can go to newchapter.com and learn a lot about the New Chapter fish oil product. It's all there, easy to get access to. And if you're suffering from inflammation, for example, we know that the omega-3 essential poly unsaturated long-chain fatty acids do a great job. There's a bunch of science, a lot, to show how it moderates inflammation. That's just one of the benefits, but that's an important benefit. Do you eat fish?
It's one of those things where if I can find wild Alaskan salmon or fish that I believe has been responsibly fished, then yes, I do. But that's becoming very rare and few and far between to happen. And also, I'm married to a vegetarian, so that doesn't help.
Are you really? Are you married to? So does that create any conflict at home at dinner time and whatnot? I'm if you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I want to know.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. No, I mean it definitely forced me to look at that point of view more. And when I'm at home, I cook vegetarian, and but the kids eat meat. So, it's one of those things, and so you're always trying to find, really good protein sources for them. And then when I'm on the road or when I'm traveling or sometimes when I'm at lunch, I will indulge in some meat or chicken or fish that is hopefully wild-caught Alaskan salmon.
The Whole-Mega product is fresh pressed and extra virgin for optimal absorption, right? It's made with non-GMO, project verified, and that I almost gave away the answer. What kind of fish do they use? That's the health question of the day. Mackerel, haddock, or salmon? Which one? It includes a botanical antioxidant stability system, BAS, no pun intended for fish, with potency, rosemary, and oregano, right? Or potent rosemary and oregano.
We're really proud of our freshness. It's one of those things that, fish oil that has gone rancid is actually pro-inflammatory.
Thank you. You sound like you listened to the show. I just said that about 20 minutes ago. Go ahead.
I can't imagine that of course I listen to the show. So it's pro-inflammatory, and so you want to make sure that your fish oil is fresh, and by using supercritically extracted rosemary and oregano oil, we're really able to preserve that freshness. In fact, I was at a training the other day, and people were so convinced of our freshness, they were biting into the soft gels and marveling at how it tastes like fresh blank the fish that's the answer to the question.
You know what? I'm a pretty good guesser. I said that it was about 2,000. Well, it's 2,000. It's 2 grams. I said 2 grams. 2 soft gels. How did I remember that? I have no clue. The total oil is 2,000 milligrams. That's 2 grams.
Yep.
Divided up between EPA, DHA, and other omega-3 fatty acids in the product. So, are you a fan of doing like 3 to 5 grams a day?
So again, I'm bound by the company to not suggest anything off of the nutritional facts panel, but I would say that there's some really exciting research out there, and definitely worth checking with your healthcare provider to see if you would be a candidate for larger doses.
And if you're suffering from inflammation and you're looking for a 1-2 punch, you might do the New Chapter Whole-Mega and then take Zyflamend along with it. That would help.
I'm a huge fan. Oh, yeah, huge fan of that.
So what kind of fish do they use in the New Chapter Whole-Mega product? Do they use mackerel or do they use salmon? What do you think? 877-897-8255. Speed dial me. Win a $25 supplement gift card. How are you going to spend the rest of your day? Fishing?
It's a little cold for that. No, I'm actually working on a new research project. I'm really excited about it.
You are?
Yes.
Can you give me a hint?
Oh, well, I can tell you that, Whole-Mega is really nourishing for your endocannabinoid system.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Go to newchapter.com. Maple syrup, a big deal up where you live?
Oh, absolutely. We're maple syrup country.
They harvest that from the trees, right?
Absolutely.
Have you gone out and have you seen maple syrup farms and whatnot?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they put the lines up, and then the lines run, and then they have these sugar shacks, or what they're called, and they boil it down to create this gorgeous maple syrup. It's really an exciting time of year up here.
Your kids love it, I bet.
Absolutely.
Give my best to everybody at New Chapter. Charlotte, thank you for being, first of all, a wonderful person and a great guest. But we appreciate you for that. Both of those things.
Thank you.
You take care of yourself. And we'll catch you the next time. New Chapter's Whole-Mega. There you go. Somebody speed dialing. Be a winner. Your health is your wealth, and your health is the wealth of those that care about and love you.